Hello and welcome to the Radio Waves. I'm your host, Kris Poliquin, and this is a production of Red Apples Media. We're broadcasting out of 790 AM WLBE Real Country out of Leesburg, Florida. And if you're watching us on television, you're doing so on Lake Sumter TV, Comcast Channel 13, Bright House 498, and Prism Channel 83. So today, I've invited someone to come and talk to us about what I think is a little gem of Lake County that I want more people to be aware of and to go visit. So I invited Don Camp, the Vice President of the Lake County Historical Society, to come in, talk to us about the Lake County Museum that's located in the courthouse. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Well, Don, thank you and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here. Glad to help. Happy to talk about it. We get a little tired of being Lake County's best kept secret. So
I'll tell you what, and we've spoken off air, but I didn't know it was there until I had business at the courthouse. Walked in, the first set of doors and was like, where am I at? Wait a minute, am I in the right place? So that can't be an uncommon experience for a lot of people.
I had the same experience myself about 10 years ago when I went there and it's like, hey, look at this. There's a museum here.
Right. Now, how long have you been with the museum?
Just about 10 years. It was just within a couple of weeks of my finding out it was there that I tracked down Bob Grenier, who's the curator of the museum today, but at the time just a volunteer. And he told me about it, and I asked, well, how can I get involved? What can I do? And about that same time, very active in scouting in Lake County, and the 100th anniversary of scouting was going on. And most people don't know that scouting in Florida, the very first troop was right here in Tavares. So
is that right?
Right. And
so the first
scout troop in Florida,
was in Tavares.
Was in Tavares, just 2 years after scouting was created. And I have a bunch of scouting memorabilia, so I put together a display for the 100th anniversary of scouting in the museum. In fact, it's still there today in Gallery 2 if you want to come over and see about 100 years worth of scouting memorabilia going back to the very founding of the first troop in Florida.
See, no, that's crazy. No, I'm not a scout history buff by no mistake. But that's the first time I'm hearing it.
Right.
So for the audience, that was a real reaction. I can't believe that.
Yeah,
that's just not a little more advertised here.
And it's those stories that most people don't know. That's the whole point of the museum, is to tell people things they don't know about their history. And that's why I love history. That's why I get involved in history. That's why I have been, for almost my entire life, one way or another. So.
Okay. So now I've already kind of alluded to where it is, but
Right.
Where exactly is the museum located, and why is that important?
Right. So we're in what is called the Historic Courthouse in downtown Tavares at 317 West Main Street. If people know where the Round Building is, we're right next door to the Round Building.
Yeah.
We call it the Historic Courthouse. It is the one that was built in 1924. It's actually the third courthouse. The first courthouse was in the judge's house, and then they built the Pioneer Building on the location where the courthouse is today. And in 22, they moved the Pioneer Building. They actually loaded it up and hauled it across the street in 1922, and then they built the current court, what we call the historic courthouse, in 24.
Right, it's the oldest one left standing.
Correct. Of the original.
Right.
Yeah, they finally tore down the Pioneer Building in '89 to make way for the courts and the property appraisers' offices, tax collector's office. All of that complex is where they had moved the Pioneer Building back at the time. And
so the building itself has a history.
It absolutely is. It's a gorgeous building. It's done in a Georgian style. It's got great columns out front. There's tile work, and it's in great condition, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful building all by itself. Mm-hmm. And we occupy the first floor of the building. The sheriff's administrative offices are the second through fifth floor of the building, but we're in the bottom there. We've been there just about 20 years now.
20 years.
Yeah.
20 years. Wow.
Yeah.
And again, people drive. It's easy to just drive by it. It really is, because when you're down there anyway, you're almost in the heart of the Lake County hub, governmental hub.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah, and we're just far enough off of the the hot spots, the lake, and it just far enough off, it's easy to miss us.
Right.
So we put signs out all the time saying museum's open, come on in, and then everyone's welcome. It's a free museum. There's no charge to get in, and we have 4 galleries. Come in. The lobby is got displays in it. And then we have 4 rooms that used to be the courtrooms, used to be the tax collector's office.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
No, so I've been in the lobby. I have to say, I don't believe I've been in any of the galleries.
Yeah, you go into the galleries. If you go into Gallery 4, the safe that they used to store the clerk's records in is still there. We actually use it as exhibit space.
Really?
It's a beautiful. It's a cool old safe with the big gears on the doors and everything. It's nice.
Now,
Yeah.
to me, that is cool because I've actually had the clerk on as a guest, and he brought some of the, I don't know, 100-year-old books. I mean, that was one of my favorite shows just because it was like, wow, this is real. He's
Well,
like, oh yeah, we're the custodians of all this stuff, and to know that one of the original safes or the safe is there.
And
That's
we
pretty
have those
cool.
books too. Actually, we have a research room that gets used fairly often. And if you want to come and
Really?
look through all those old records, we have files, we have maps, we have the old court records. We can get the microfiche and the stenographers' pieces over from the court office, and you just have to call and tell us what it is you're looking for, and we'll make time, and you can come and use the room free of charge. We have a fairly extensive library there, and we're actually now part of the Lake County Library System. So you can look through the card catalog online for Lake County's card and look at and
Oh,
see
I
the
gotcha.
books that we have in our collection and come over. You can't check them out and take them home, but you can reserve them and come over and look at them. And
Right, I'm sure it needs
and
to
do
be in a
research.
confined space, not confined, but controlled.
Controlled,
Just
exactly.
because of the age of the material.
Exactly.
Yeah, you make you make people wear rubber gloves and stuff
No,
when they
it's
look
not
at
quite.
it.
We're not quite
that. Okay.
You-
not
you-
that, just
we
not
do-
that old.
Well, some of the old documents we do have white gloves that we would ask you to put on just because the oils from your skin can
Sure,
affect
absolutely.
the documents.
So, tell me a little bit about what I can expect upon coming to the court or to the courthouse. No, we're talking about the courthouse.
Yeah,
but
well-
but to the museum. So you've got 4 galleries.
We do.
Can you describe to our
Yeah.
audience
So yeah.
what they are?
Right. So Gallery 1 is what we call our military gallery. And the military gallery has exhibits from every conflict you can think of that the United States has been involved in.
And there's been a few.
And there have been a few, right? One of the great displays we have right now is a gentleman by the name of Roy Berry has a rather extensive World War I uniform collection. And the 100th anniversary of the ending of World War I was just back in November. November 11th was
Right.
Armistice Day, right? So we put up this display of just wonderful pieces, including a Marine gunner's uniform that is a one of a kind. No one else, no other collection that we know of has this particular uniform with the patches on the sleeves.
Wow.
So there's we have 2 Medal of Honor recipients from Lake County, and we actually have their Medal of Honors in the collection there that you can come and take a look at.
Wow.
Gallery 2 is kind of a lifestyle sort of thing. So that's where you're going to find the Scout display. You're going to find information on
I'm sorry, the what display?
the Scouts display.
Oh, okay.
Yes, right. You're going to find history on tourism and Walt Disney's influence on Lake County. Most people don't know that his grandparents were actually lived in Paisley and are buried in Paisley, or just
Really?
Yep, off of 42.
Well, then he should have built here first instead of L.A.
Well, he actually looked at the property up here and decided it was kind of a little far away from where he wanted the activity to be there by Orlando, so he ended up building south. But we have a tie-in there. We have information on the citrus industry and in there.
Oh, sure, especially
Right.
for Central Florida
Right.
in general. But
Yeah, and a couple of notable people: H.H. Duncan, who was the first clerk of the courts; Annie Burley, who. There's an interesting story about Annie Burley. There was a fire in downtown Tavares back in 1894-95. She actually rode to the courthouse, grabbed all the records, put them into her buggy, and drove the buggy into Lake Dora to save those documents from the fire.
See, those are that's the tidbits of history that
she was
like.
She was quite a character. So we have a display on Annie and the family. Of course, the Burley family is very well known in the area. Gallery 3 is the town's early settlement. We have a display in there on the old hotels that used to be down here. A lot of the Northerners came down, right? Most people don't know Waterman Hotel. Waterman Hospital was originally a hotel built by G.H. Waterman, the guy who invented the fountain pen. That's the Waterman that built that hotel.
Really?
Yep.
He invented the
fountain pen. Yep.
Yeah. So Advent Health Waterman over here is essentially named after the guy who created the fountain pen.
Right. Well, because originally,
and I guess opened a hotel.
It was the Waterman Hotel. The Waterman Hotel became a hospital when it closed as a hotel, and then it just migrated on to where it is over there on 441 now. But that used to be downtown Eustis, right there, right there in the center of Eustis. Yeah. And we have information there on the railroads that, because you can't talk about Lake County without talking about railroads.
No.
That's actually the Clayton.
You can't drive through it without driving over them.
That's actually the Clayton Bishop Gallery. We call that because Clayton was a wonderful man, had one of the most extensive railroad collections and information as anybody. Clayton just died a couple of days ago, actually. So we're sorry to hear that. But he was a wonderful person, longtime member of the society. And then Gallery 4 is not ancient history, excuse me, what we call natural history. So about the wildlife, and there we have a rather large alligator in there that was taken out of Lake Harris a couple of years ago. He's 13 feet 2 inches.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's in that gallery.
Wow. That's a big gator.
Yeah, it is a big gator. And we're actually putting in a whole new display there, talking about the Spanish missions and the Spanish settlements here. Most people don't know that there's a rumor of Spanish gold buried on the shores of Lake Eustis. Back in the 50s, some kids playing along the shore in the mud found a couple of gold doubloons there in the mud on the edge of Lake Eustis. So there's been treasure hunting done there for over the years.
Right?
Yep.
No, so I'll be honest. If I'd have known about that, you'd see me on the shores too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So those are the kinds of stories that we want everybody to know. There's lots of stuff has happened and there's good and there's bad, right?
Oh, of course.
So
we're talking history.
Certainly, right. So Lake County that certainly has its dark side as well. The Groveland Four,
yes,
that happened back in the 49. And so there's a display there that talks about the Groveland Four, and
because that's actually the courthouse that they were held in.
It is the courthouse. Yeah. Unfortunately, Sheriff McCall that's where he kind of held sway for a long time. So we want to make sure that those kinds of stories are told as well.
Because history should be unbiased. It's fact.
That's exactly.
It's like, this is what happened. This is why, where, how, and who.
Right.
Do you like fountain pens? Right.
Right. So our job as a museum, as any museum, is we present. Here it is. Right. You interpret it the way you need to interpret it, but we put it out there, and this is what happened. You can't change the past, but you can learn from it.
Absolutely. Well, Don, we need to take a quick break.
Sure.
If that's all right. And when we return, we'll continue our conversation on the Lake County Museum. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back to Radio Waves. Again, I'm your host, Kris Poliquin, and this is a production of Red Apples Media. So before the break, we were just really starting to peel back just one small layer of the onion that is the onion. But you know what I'm saying, getting deep into the Lake County Historical Museum. But during the break, Don, you were telling me another interesting fact that I'm really interested in, so I want the audience, whether they like it or not, to know this. Could you repeat what you just said a couple of minutes ago?
I was talking about Dr. Edgar Banks. Dr. Banks was the inspiration for Steven Spielberg and George Lucas for the Indiana Jones character. And Dr. Banks was an archaeologist, very much an Indiana Jones kind of guy, went out to Egypt, and he was the inspiration for that character, and he lived in Eustis, actually retired there and lived
See,
lived the rest of his life in Eustis.
I think that's great. So
Yeah.
you hear it here, folks. Indiana Jones came from Eustis.
Exactly.
Just saying.
There you go.
So, well, all right. So, what is if you had to pin down one specific thing in the museum that was your favorite? What would that be?
Wow.
Because there's so much.
There is so much. That one's really tough. I could say the scout exhibit because I put that one
You
in.
put it together, right? Right.
But all of it. I love history, just period.
Yeah.
So there's nothing in there that I can't just stand and look at and read and get more information on or just absorb every time I'm there.
And you said that this is free.
Absolutely.
So all you have to do is find parking and
Yep.
then go enjoy an afternoon or an evening and
Yeah, afternoon. So we're,
about where we live.
right, we haven't talked about when we're open. So I just
Yeah,
tell people when
please
we're
get
open, right? So,
when can people come and enjoy the museum?
so the museum has hours on Tuesday through Saturday, and it's a daytime at the moment until we get some more volunteers in there. But it's 10 to 2 on Tuesday and Saturday, and 10 to 3 Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Now you've brought up volunteers a couple of times. Who is it? Only run by volunteers?
Everybody in the museum is a volunteer except the office manager. And
There's one person there.
One person who gets paid. The office manager gets it's just a part-time job, and she gets paid to be there. But I will tell you that she puts in way more hours than she gets paid for.
I'm sure.
She's been a great
That's
addition.
amazing in and of itself.
Right, it's an
It
entirely
really
volunteer
is.
organization. Well, but that's the whole purpose of the society is to promote history in Lake County, and one of our main goals to do that, or one of the main ways that we do that, is by providing the museum or running the museum.
Now, how
that
large
we do
is?
that.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
How large is this society?
Well, we recently had a pretty substantial uptick in membership.
Oh, right. Yep.
Yeah. So we actually have 444 registered members in the society right now. Yeah. It's just we're 65 years old. So we got the society was established in 1954. So
Is that right?
we're celebrating our 65th year this year. And people have asked me, is this the most people that have ever been in the society? And I don't know that for certain, but probably
Yeah, I would
it's
imagine
probably
so.
true.
Now, if you don't mind me asking, that's in
Yeah.
lieu of the statue that may or may not be coming here.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And I'm sure everybody's aware that if they don't have all the details on what's going on, that there is there's concern
There
and there's an issue.
Well, so this, yeah.
You
So
know.
let's go over what it is, right?
Okay.
So every state has 2 statues in Statuary Hall in Congress in Washington D.C. And the state of Florida had 2 statues there. One of them is John Gorey, who invented air conditioning, and the other one is Edmund Kirby Smith, who was a Florida soldier in both the United States Army and the Confederate Army.
Right.
And a couple of years ago, the Florida Senate or the Florida legislature voted to replace the statue of Edmund Kirby Smith with Mary Bethune, the civil rights activist.
Uh-huh.
Right? Okay. So when we heard that was happening, we kind of it's like, okay, so what are they going to do with the Smith statue? And found out that the state of Florida was going to offer it to anybody in the state that wanted to or could display it per their requirements.
Properly,
And they
right.
had quite an extensive list of requirements. And a year ago we made a presentation, and we've been awarded the right to display
To
the
display
statue.
it.
Right. Okay. So now the issue with that is that he was a Confederate soldier. And so there's been some controversy on having a Confederate soldier statue in our museum, considering Lake County's
History.
varied checkered past. Exactly. And that's a legitimate concern. So we've engaged in dialogue with people over this. And as you can imagine, that's inflamed passions on both sides.
On both,
Right,
of course. Of course.
We're a couple of years away from that statue honestly being here. They haven't even cast the Bethune statue, and the architect of the Congress won't allow the statue to be removed until the new one is in place.
And they
so
haven't even cast the
they
replacement.
haven't even cast it. They
in
haven't.
D.C. Wow.
Yeah. So they haven't even decided on the final design of the Thurn statue. So it's.
So this is something that's down the road.
It
then.
is down the
It's
road.
way down the road. It sounds like.
It is, and in the meantime, we have a great museum now that's got lots of exhibits and lots of plans for the museum in the future.
And can we talk about some of those?
Absolutely. So every gallery is always under construction of some sort. We're always putting up new displays. I talked about the new World War I display just in November, the Spanish missions display that's coming up, that's going in Gallery 4 right now. We are in talks and have been for a while because we're a little constrained in space there. We're just on the first floor of the thing, and so we're
kick the sheriff out.
Well,
I'm sure he won't.
I've made that suggestion a couple of times. But we are working with the sheriff and the commission, trying to get another room for us to put the office in. And then what is currently the office and research room would then become Gallery 5. And with the Gallery 5, that will give us a chance to expand upon things that we absolutely want to do. We want to open a civil rights gallery. We've wanted to for a long time, but with a lot of,
you have to have the space.
Right, so you have a display here or a display there, but it really doesn't tell the story. So we're really wanting to open up Gallery 5, and we're hoping that we can work out the logistics of moving the office and getting the gallery up and running. We have lots of events that we have there all the time. We have speakers on a regular basis. We've had Judge Larry Cemento wrote a book about his adventures as a mountain climber, and we had him speak in the museum. Gary Corsair, who wrote what is probably the definitive book on the Groveland 4 case, came and spoke at the beginning of March. We had 175 people in the museum for that talk. The National History Day for the Lake County Schools, their history fair was held in the museum. So last week we had the National Day of Prayer was held in the museum. We had almost 300 people in the museum for that.
Wow.
So
if someone wanted to get more information on the events that are upcoming, or just how to maybe be a volunteer themselves, where can they get that information?
Well, we have a Facebook page, so come see us on Facebook, Lake County Historical Society on the Facebook. We have a website, lakecountyhistoricalmuseum.org, and you can call the office, 352-343-9890, and Lisa will be happy to talk to you and give you information. Always looking for volunteers, always looking for help. If you're artistic, we need help with designing the displays, painting things, and
that's great.
Yeah,
well,
anything
Don,
they want.
Thank you again so very much for taking the time out of your day and coming and sharing this information.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it.
Great being here. Thank you.
That's it for Radio Waves today. I've been your host, Kris Poliquin, and we'll see you next time.